Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on the Show Me the Way podcast, I sit down with my high school friend, Shamin Sanders, someone I remember as incredibly inclusive, kind-hearted, and full of joy. Even though we haven't seen each other in person in many years, Shamin is one of those people who has felt deeply connected to my family's journey after Nathan's diagnosis. She is truly someone God placed in my life for a reason. Shamin is a mom of two daughters. Her youngest has been diagnosed with autism and is nonverbal, which means communicating her thoughts, feelings, and physical needs can be incredibly challenging. Shamin, her husband, their older daughter, and a loving circle of family and friends have spent years learning what works best for their family and how to best support their daughter. However, recently, Shamin experienced another profound hardship, the loss of both of her parents within a very short period of time. She lovingly describes them as the mayor and first lady of her family, and their absence deeply changed the way her household functioned, especially when it came to care and support for her daughter. In this episode, Shamin vulnerably shares the emotional toll of grief, the exhaustion that comes with constant caregiving, and what it was like to leave a career she loved so she could stay home and be fully available for her daughter. While every day brings new challenges and often requires a pivot, Shamin and her husband have learned how to lean on one another, grow stronger as partners, and create the best life possible for both of their girls. Shamin's love for her family shines through every part of our conversation. The wisdom and encouragement she shares are powerful for anyone facing adversity, whether you're navigating a child's diagnosis, grieving loved ones, or walking through a season that feels overwhelming. She reminds us how important it is to seek support, take time for ourselves, give our partner space to do the same, and intentionally build a safe, loving, and trusting home base. I know you'll love this episode and learn just as much as I did. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest, as it is someone that I've known for a very long time, but haven't seen in person in almost as long. Shamin Sanders is a high school classmate of mine and was always someone that brought a smile to my face and joy to everyone she was around. I was so fortunate to go to a high school with a group of people that were overall very accepting and open to one another. And no matter which social or academic group you were a part of, you were always included. And I remember Shamin as someone who was so kind and inclusive with everybody. Again, I'm grateful for Facebook for allowing me to stay in touch with high school friends. Shamin has followed my family story and was someone who reached out just when I needed support to let me know that she understood some of what we were going through. She has definitely experienced adversity through a difficult diagnosis for her daughter. As a super mama, she knows how to advocate and look out for her children first. She's a hardworking married mom who has experienced a lot in her life, including loss, but she still shows up so positively. I cannot wait to hear more about her story. Welcome to the show, Shamin. Thank you so much for being open to chat.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Good. Well, I always share a little bit about how I know the guests, but I will give you a couple minutes to share a little bit more with our listeners about you.
Being that we went to high school together, we are the same age. I'm a 47-year-old, married,
Yep.
a mother of two. I have two daughters. I have a 14-year-old nonverbal autistic daughter, and then I also have a 20-year-old daughter who is a junior currently at Grand Valley. I am also the proud mama of two little fur babies. I have two mini golden doodles. I have Leroy Brown. He is my
Oh,
oldest. And
love
then
that.
Charlie, I have Charlie Brown. He is my youngest. He is two. So he is a typical little puppy, but he came into my life just when I needed the little baby puppy chaos. So that worked out
Aw.
perfectly. Recently, my life, I'm going to try not to cry. Recently, my life has taken one of the biggest turns that I think, besides losing a spouse or a child, that I have felt. I lost my parents recently, 14 months apart. I don't think it would hurt as bad as if I had bad parents, but I didn't. I had amazing parents. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older brothers. But this situation has led me to be in the lead role and to be in charge and to do a lot of things. So I'm currently not only managing my own personal household, I'm managing my parents' household, and then I'm also managing the estate for myself and my brothers. Um, my father suffered from heart disease, and he kind of we watched him wither away, which was difficult. You know, he was a very strong man, very manly man, and did everything. And so that was very difficult to do. So then, supporting my mom, but I'm going to be honest, my mom died of a broken heart. There's no other which way around about it. I was on vacation. I was traveling internationally. I was in Jamaica with my husband, and I got a phone call from a family friend that she hadn't heard from my mom in a minute and to give it a call. So, long story short, my mom's neighbor found her deceased at the home. So, while I'm in Jamaica figuring things out, calling my brothers, making sure my kids are okay, making sure it doesn't get on social media so my daughter doesn't find out, so other family members don't find out. Social media is so good and it can be so bad in the same way. It's great to get your message across, but sometimes when you don't want anything to be across, that's kind of hard to stop it. And I kind of start my story out with this because of this, I've had to change recently quite a few things in my life. So I lost, two of my biggest supporters. They were like, the mayor and the first lady of my village. So that's changed a lot of things. With Sophia being nonverbal, there are very few times that Sophia has ever been watched or been in the care of someone who's not a family member. My mother-in-law helps out, a lot when she can, but it's not as, distance-wise, sometimes it's not as easy for drop-offs and things like that. But have really had to scale back my career. So at 47 now, I've become somewhat of a stay-at-home mom, and wife, and now I'm, managing my household full time. My career, I've studied hospitality and I've worked in the hospitality industry for over 20 years, different roles. Most recently, I was the revenue manager at the Hyatt Place in Novi. I'm at the Suburban Collection, well, formerly the Suburban Collection Showplace, now Vibe. But my boss and everybody there, it is more of a family than work and has been very accommodating. So I do work from home and then I try to go into the hotel like at least one day a week, but within the parameters of, Sophia being at school and me having to be home, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In a business that's 24/7, it doesn't really, nobody really cares, what time, you're there, you're not there, but consider your professional work day. You get in, you have meetings, you get out of your meetings, you have lunch, and then you normally, kind of start your day onto the new day of new things. And by that time, I'm already have left the office. So now, my clients are, hey, Shamin, what are you doing? Where's this? Where's that? And being that it's a hotel, changes come all time throughout the day for tomorrow, for Saturday, for Sunday. It doesn't close at Friday at 5. And it was just too overwhelming for me. I felt throughout my whole professional career, I can handle this. I got this. I'm here, there, I'm everywhere. I'm doing things. And then it got to a point where I was like, all right, I don't have this. So luckily, my husband and I are in a position where I can be at home. I think that being parents of a special needs child, I think eventually it's a conversation that comes up between you and your spouse, whether it's you or your spouse. You don't know which one that it'll be, depending on, I guess, where you are in your career or things like that. So it made sense for me to be the one. So I just feel like right now, it's a lot of nonverbalness. I'm home with two dogs. I'm home with a child that doesn't talk. My child who talks my ear off is away at school. Being that I also thought that at this point in my life that if I was going to be at home, I knew at some point with Sophia I would probably be at home more than I would be at work. But I also thought that I'd be at home hanging out with my mom, shopping and doing stuff like that. Or even just being able to give them my full time care that they've always given me and my kids. So it's been I don't feel like I'm having necessarily like this weird crisis, but I feel like everybody's continuing doing what they're doing and everything about me has changed.
And your life is not, you've been forced to make decisions. You're not really like making them because you wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, and not that I'm not, and anybody you talk to and you're like, "Oh, you're not working anymore? That must be so awesome." And I feel like when you're able to make that choice for yourself in that direction of wanting to do it, then yes. And again, I know that it's something that I have to do. I'm not complaining about it, but it's definitely a change, like
right.
enjoyed being busy. I enjoyed what I did. Working in hospitality, my day was different every single day. You didn't really know what was going to happen or how it was going to happen necessarily for that day. So it was something that was continuously moving, events, things like that. I love everything about it. So it's definitely different. I feel like now I'm definitely busy because I'm still managing the estate. We're still doing things with the house, things like that. So I'm definitely still occupied in those things. But it's just like, for instance, recently I had a funeral just pop up and it was convenient that I guess I was able to go because of time wise and schedule wise, was something that I was able to attend and support my friends and be there for them. So that was great. But it's like, my husband recently got a new position where he's incredibly busy and, requires a lot of his time for his staff and to counsel them and to help them. So then it's like, oh, great. Well, now, I'm happy for you, but now you're even busier. And what about me?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and then in the midst of all my feelings, I also feel like through the holidays, every single freaking movie that you watch involves your mom dying or like something else where it's like, seriously, like I just was trying to watch this stupid Hallmark movie
Mhm.
and here we are again.
Yes. Oh, well, for the record, you don't sound like you're complaining at all. You're truly expressing, I mean, obviously we have different situations, but you're truly expressing the reason why I wanted to do a podcast like this because I think a lot of us in social media will do this to us too. We'll say, "Oh, everyone's got a perfect life. Everything's
Yeah.
so good for them." And I had to deal with this major challenge and I didn't expect it and it's been very complicated and very emotional and how come everything's so perfect in everyone else's lives? But it's not because
Hmm.
everybody faces something and everybody has challenges and things that they're going through and you don't truly know. And again, you said it when people are like, "Oh, good for you. You get to stay home."
I
Well,
know.
you're not just like hanging out.
No,
You
I
are
know.
you're taking on another role and your life is just not yours. And
Yeah.
that's been a challenge for me because yeah, I stay home. I mean, I'm a realtor. I went into real estate so that I could have something that I could be flexible with and I'm as
Hmm.
busy as I want to be. So that's been helpful. But number 1 is being available for my son. And
Hmm.
that's why I started this to talk about Nathan, how he has Duchenne muscular dystrophy and how that just rocked our world and it completely
Hmm.
changed the path that I thought I was on. And I want to hear other stories like that and other perspective that people have gained from completely pivoting. And that's exactly what you did.
Hmm.
And not only were you thinking a lot about your daughter, but then you had this devastating loss. Like, I mean, that's why I brought it up when I was talking about what I know about you, just seeing on social media, like how important your parents were to you or still are to you. And I know you've always had a close family. So definitely you can see that that was a major impact. And yeah, the older we get,
Hmm.
people are losing family members or losing their parents. And it makes me very grateful. I still have mine, but losing a major
Hmm.
support like that, I mean, that's huge and it's not what you expected. And you had to completely pivot and start something different. So not complaining at all. It's just like, wow, all of a sudden my life looks like this. And I'm sure you've learned things and I'm sure you have some days that are worse than others, but you've also learned some things through it and you're continuing to learn some things through it. So I'm really grateful that you're open to sharing your story. Part of me thought, well, we're going to talk a little bit about your daughter and her diagnosis, but it seems like everything you're going through is kind of related. So as I tell everybody,
Hmm.
there's no script. So you can speak on
Hmm.
whatever's on your heart. So we can continue to talk about what this journey that you're on is like and we can try to help one another. As you mentioned before we pressed record, this is therapeutic for me and for my
Yeah.
guests. So I'm sure that there's listeners out there that are going to say, wow, I just went through something like that. Or, I
Hmm.
experienced a major loss and I'm not sure how to move forward. And then they're inspired or they hear something that you say and they say, okay, I can move forward or I can maybe take some of those tips or I know that I'm not
Hmm.
alone. So I think it's really
Honestly, I
good that
feel
you're
like
open.
the the beginning of our story, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to be as successful as I am navigating through this without the help of others. other parents, other grandparents. Sometimes when you go to these early on, things for the kids when they're a little bit younger, and you don't necessarily know who's going to be bringing them. It's just such a variety of family members and things like that. So without some of them and their instruction, or just kind of navigating how to get around doctors or therapists or things like that, I think obviously our biggest challenge was Sophia. She's nonverbal. And it's one of those things that you want to tell people, but then I don't want to tell everybody. I don't necessarily want everybody to know. And not that I'm ashamed or we're trying to hide her, but how do you not think about all the predators and the weird people and the things like that who know that she can't necessarily use her words to defend herself? So that's kind of my new hurdle, I guess, with her becoming a teenager and going to high school. She goes to Belleville High School. She's in ninth grade. She started playing basketball on the unified basketball team. She's got a game today. It was team pitcher day, which is always such a horrifying thing because pitcher days are such a hit or miss. You never know. Um, I mean, we've gotten horrible pictures though where the teacher's hand is like covering her in the photo. And it's like, why would you even send me this picture? I'd rather
Right.
you tell me you didn't get her picture. Like, she wouldn't sit still. I would have believed that more than now
Yeah.
I have to pay for this package with your hand. There's no touch up for this. Originally, when we first started to notice things, Soph was probably about 2, 2.5. And obviously, we had another child. You kind of see the milestones. Our friends were having kids, they're at the same age. Believe it or not, my best friend has a daughter that is 5 days younger than Sophia. So that was honestly somewhat of a little bit of a challenge, I think, for us too. We see our daughter do these things, and then we're watching their daughter do all of these things. You're thinking like, oh, my kid would be doing the same exact things. So some of those things, I think, with friendships can be a little difficult, but we navigate around them. My best friend is probably one of my biggest supporters too. I think she sometimes can be a little bit more of a realist than I am, so she kind of helps push me through some of the things. I always joke that I give myself one day to like feel sorry for myself a month, and then I gotta like dust it off and move on and keep going because everybody keeps moving around you, so you got to keep moving too. Um, I think that one of my biggest things has been like, and now that we're in high school and we have the teacher that we do, I think teachers have been some of my biggest, challenges and not necessarily understanding, but I feel like sometimes we had to teach them about autism. Like we had to teach them about, what ABA, therapy was, or when I'm bringing therapists, to my IEP and things like that, they're getting offended, or you can tell like she's getting irritated. I'm thinking like, lady, like if you would have just came at me with the information, I wouldn't have to come to you with the information.
That's so interesting that you say that. I have a friend who has a son who's on the spectrum, and it's the same thing. She constantly struggles. He's going to be 11, and she'll say, I
Hmm.
feel like I email them too much, but I'm trying to explain to them what's going on with him. And I'm
Hmm.
like, You have to."
Yeah. We selected early on with Soph's diagnosis. And first of all, the IEP meetings are absolutely horrible. Like, if you're a special needs parent and you go to these things and you walk out of there with a smile, like, good for you. But it's taken me a while just to walk out of them without crying because it's like all of the things that she doesn't do or she can't do. And it's just like boom, boom, boom. And you're like, oh my God, like, I can remember in one of the first like testing that they had to do for Sophia, my husband and I arguing because one of the things, the tasks for her to do was to stack building blocks on top of one another and just right on top of one another, nothing special. And he's shaking his head no, and I'm shaking my head like, what the hell do you mean she can't stack a block on top of a block? Like, yes, she can, like, come on. And it's kind of simple, things like that, where it's like, look, can we look at the cup half full versus it empty all the
Right.
time?
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes I have not like forced to be more positive about it, but I just choose to be on more of the positive side. I feel like I've definitely run into families that you can tell like they hover more on the negative side of things, or maybe the woe is me or that type of thing, where Soph gets on a plane, she loves to travel, she enjoys being in the pool all day with everybody. Sure, she's triggered by sounds and some of the things, but we've found ways to get around that with her wearing the noise canceling headphones or things like that. But I don't feel like there's anything as a family that we necessarily get in our way that we're like, oh, we can't do this because Sophia has autism. Like, I don't necessarily feel like that. And we've never treated her that way either. Like if she can't do it, she can't do it, but we're going to at least try.
We'll say with Nathan, like, doing things Nathan's way, it might look
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
Mhm, mhm.
Exactly. And I feel like our village around us definitely respects Soph's boundaries. Like I'm Puerto Rican, so it's loud and there's different languages and music's loud and there's a lot of hugging and kissing. I know you're from a big Italian family. I feel
Mhm.
like you can tell when she's really not trying to mess with you, but otherwise she takes it all just like the rest of the kids do. So, but I feel like she is the teacher that we have now. Her name is Mrs. Parker. I feel like I'm gonna cry again, but I feel like my mom sent her to me. I feel like my mom knew that it was gonna be a struggle and this was gonna be our toughest year yet. Like high school, are you kidding me? I'm sending my nonverbal daughter to high school. Like, do parents walk around with their kids in high school? I don't know. I want to. How can I get a job in the school district so I can be in the high school with her? I have I've been so lucky that one of Sophia's speech therapists is actually a best friend of one of my cousins. So, yay for big families because she would go on all of their field trips with them. She would go on their skills trips where they'd go to the grocery store, they'd go to a restaurant or something like that. So, I'm getting photos of Soph, doing all these things because otherwise, how am I supposed to know what she did? I don't know if anybody was mean to her. I don't know if anybody was nice to her. I don't know if anybody helped her. I don't know if she had a good day. I don't know if she had a bad day. I don't know if her stomach hurts, Andrea. I don't know if her throat hurts. I don't know. Like the other day, she was in the shower and I go to check on her and there's a tooth sitting on the toilet tank. And I'm like, what the? I look at her mouth. She has a little blood coming out, but nothing major. And I'm like, thinking to my head, what's the first things that you would ask yourself? What happened? Are you in pain? All of those responses, any question that you can think of regarding the situation, my response is, I don't know. I don't know. I can tell by her body and how she's reacting. Is she in pain? Well, she's not really indicating that she's in any pain. If anything, she's more concerned about cleaning up whatever mess that she may have made. But I don't know if it was broken before. I don't know when it happened. I don't know if she did it. I don't know. I don't know. And I think for some people, let's say when she was little, she would like take off her shirt. Like people would like, oh my God, ha ha ha. And you're thinking like, ha ha ha, like how is that? And I know like some people are uncomfortable about certain things. And so that's maybe their reaction to it. But I'm thinking to myself, what is funny about this? Like she's a little girl who can't say stop, get away from me, don't touch me, leave me alone, call my mom, call my dad. What's funny about it? So Mrs. Parker is it's funny because she actually lives in our subdivision. She was a friend of my cousin's friend. So thankfully Miss Amber had already like looked out for me and found out who Soph's teacher was gonna be and kind of gave me a introduction. Just even today with picture day, she sent me a text this morning that said, don't worry about Soph's pictures. I'll make sure that they're all fine, just little things throughout the day, videos, photos. And this is just like what we're in like the first maybe like 100 and some odd days after 9 years of being with different teachers and different things. I think it was maybe like her sixth or seventh grade year for second day of school. And Soph has ridden the bus, don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna lie, if that bus opens and that person looks creepy or whatever, like she is out of there. She likes to ride the bus. She enjoys it. If she gave me any indication that she did not want to get on there, there's no problem. My husband went to Cass Tech downtown, so he had to actually ride the like Detroit City bus to school. So he is like anti-bus. Like that was his thing. His way of spending time with the girls was taking him to and from school. But then we were like, oh, well, maybe this would be good for her, so we should let her try. But just with our schedules and things, it didn't necessarily work out for this particular year for her to ride the bus. Oh, it was right after COVID and they weren't doing separate cities. Also, their solution in our district was like Fidelity transportation vehicles. So like the first day of school, this guy pops out of a Fidelity transportation minivan, like he's gonna take Soap to school. Like, sir, you can keep it moving. Like, I am not letting my daughter get in this vehicle with you. That was a big no for us. But second day of school, I go to pick her up, and her teacher looks at me like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm here for Sophia." And she's like, "Oh, well, she just got on the bus." And I'm like, "No, she didn't. She doesn't ride a bus." Oh, yeah, she does. Like, one of the ladies in the office said that they saw her get off a bus this morning. So, she got on the bus. And I'm like, well, unless that bus is a red expedition, no, she didn't, because her dad brought her to school this morning. She didn't have a radio. She's trying to get somebody in the front office. Now they're trying to find the bus that Sophia's on. Right. I'm trying not to panic. The teacher is like in my face, apologizing and everything. And we're surrounded by all the other children that are leaving for school because it's the end of the school day. So I politely like, please, like, just get out of my face. I am doing my best to hold it together. So I call my husband. Next thing you know, I hear all this beeping and everything, and they're like trying to stop this vehicle from coming through where the buses are. It's my husband in the red expedition that's not a school bus, plowing through because now it's like, where is she? Where did she go? Where is she gonna get out at? Like, I'm freaking out. Luckily, they get a hold of the bus driver. Soph's fine. She's sitting there smiling away, having a grand old time on the bus. She's not rocked by this at all. Like, not at all. But that is honestly our biggest fear, is her getting away from us. And then how is she going to get back to us? How does that happen? I can't put any track from the time she was little, because she was a big flailer and she was a toe walker, and when she would be on her toes she'd always be like moving and dancing and stuff. So we used to joke like I was going to put a Fitbit on her because I wanted to see how many steps a day she would take. You couldn't do it. Like, there's nothing you could put on her. She'd always know. No tags. I couldn't put like the special little tags with my phone number in there because she'd see me messing with it, and that's it. And then she's like, I got to get it out of here. But that probably was like my biggest, like, okay, like, wait a second. Now we need to like evaluate a little bit. Okay, pick up, drop off. And it worked with, my husband's schedule. He was able to drop her off. But then when she went to high school, they start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then they're out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it just made more sense for me to be here and to be available for all those things.
Yeah, it's like being available during those times that aren't typical.
Or just for, accidents or things like this. Luckily with Sophia, she is extremely loving. She's very smiley, very happy, very mild tempered. I know her sister tries to get her riled up because she wants to see what she's gonna do. She messes with her, she gonna push me or move me out of the way back, like, don't let anybody mess with you type of thing. Just big sister, little sister things. But she's just so sweet. And I think that one of my saving graces for just even the whole high school thing with Mrs. Parker is they have a program over at Belleville where they have like a peer to peer. There's typical kids that come in, and that is their hour. They spend time with the kids, they work on life skills. In Sophia's classroom, she has a full kitchen, she has a washing machine and dryer, she has the dishwasher. So because obviously she's not studying what a typical ninth grader would study. We decided, obviously, with her being nonverbal, to put her in the autism spectrum disorder classroom. Within this classroom, legally, there can only be 7 students. And then if it's a max, there would be required to have 2 paras and then the actual teacher. With Sophia's IEP and her being nonverbal, she'll she's very sweet, but she'll also take advantage of the fact that if you let her be super sweet and you're like, "Oh, I'll do it," or "Don't worry about it, you don't want to," she will definitely take advantage of that. So we decided not to do the one-on-one and give her her own aid. We wanted her to be able to still participate in things like that. She doesn't need that much assistance. There's definitely some hand over hand assistance that she does need, but um like typical things, like she wants her hair done. She wants you to fix her eyebrows. She'll sit through and she'll let me wax her eyebrows and suffer through all those things. Every once in a while, she wants her nails polished. She's got to put her perfume and lip gloss and things like that on before she walks out the door. Like, one of her biggest things is getting dressed every day. And I'm like, can we just chill? And it's one of her things that she definitely needs to do. It's weird because sometimes she's a 14-year-old, and then sometimes she can be a 5-year-old.
It's amazing how much I can relate to because Nathan's the
I
same way.
know. Yeah. I went and I bought all these Nike leggings thinking, okay, she's going to high school, she's going to be in this. She won't even look at those leggings. If it's a shoe and it's weird, she's like, like I'm good on this. Consistently trying to sneak these Crocs out of here and it's like 9 degrees and snow everywhere. And I'm like, girl, you cannot wear these Crocs. Sorry, put them in your bag. I don't care if you change them when you get there, but you're not wearing them. I also feel like my husband and I, through the diagnosis, I know that sometimes it can affect, your relationship. As a married couple, I think that in the beginning, for example, I was very like, no, 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 no. And he was like more accepting towards the diagnosis, I think, than I was. And I was like, you're not here and you're not this. So you're missing some things. And then I was so afraid once we got this diagnosis that now my kid has this label on her like forever. We always joke about like the switch goes off. Like every time she would fall when she was little, we'd wait, like, was this it? Because what caused this? What did this? What did I do? Or what did I not do? Or is it me? I feel like receiving self-diagnosis, honestly, I think brought my husband and I a lot closer. I think that it brought us together where it was like, it's you, me, Soph, and Brianna against the world, and we're just gonna figure out what our world is like now, and this is just what we're gonna do. I think that when you have like the love and support, not only of your spouse, but your friends, like sometimes you meet people and they're like, "Oh, I understand," and then you're like, "You do not understand."
Life has a funny way of reminding us that we can't plan for everything, but we can prepare for what matters most. That's why I'm so thankful for today's sponsor, Tammy Brown Insurance Agency. Tammy and her team don't just sell policies, they build relationships. Whether you're protecting your home, your car, or your family's future, Tammy takes the time to really listen and find coverage that fits your life. As a mom, a homeowner, and a Michigander, I love knowing that I've got someone local in my corner who actually cares, not just about my insurance, but about my peace of mind. So if you've been putting off checking your coverage, take this as your sign. Call Tammy Brown Insurance Agency or visit the Tammy Brown Agency Facebook page and tell them the Show Me the Way podcast sent you. Because when life takes a turn, it helps to have someone who can show you the way back to security.
Feel for people who are a single parent and they have all of this, or people who move to different states for the care of their kids and end up being away from friends and family and don't have a support system. I feel for the kids that are violent and you don't know if their kid is going to react on them or how they're going to react on them or those types of things. So I think that there's so many ways you could feel sorry for yourself, but then there's so many ways that you're like, it could be worse, honestly. And as long as it doesn't go in that direction, I guess we're still doing okay.
I just think that, again, like I said, listeners are going to hear this, and not that we have it all figured out, but some of the things you say, it's like, yeah, people aren't alone. I mean, it's amazing how much we need to figure things out every single day. And people, even those that have had a diagnosis with a child for a long period of time, it's still like every single day is a new question. So I appreciate you
Mhm.
sharing all that because, again, I think we see people and we're like, oh, everything seems great. They seem to have it all
Mhm.
together. But it's like every single day, you don't know what's going to happen or what's the new challenge for the day. So I almost feel like you have to pivot every single day.
So, for example, my older daughter and I and Sophia were at Dollar General, and there was an older woman. She was in the store, and she was walking past us, and she complimented the girls. They're so beautiful, or this or that. And I responded, "Thank you." Brianna responded, "Thank you," and Sophia didn't respond, and we responded for her, like, "Oh, well." She says, "Thank you too." The woman looked at me and said, Mom, are you not going to correct her? That's rude not to respond." And I was like, "It's rude if you're able to respond." I was like, "Actually, she's nonverbal. And besides her just being nonverbal, you're a stranger. Maybe she just wasn't comfortable with you, and that's okay with me too. If my girls aren't comfortable with you, they don't necessarily have to speak to you. They're not going to be rude, but I think that because when she was younger, she would flail. Like she definitely carries like a fidget, one of those little jelly roll thingies every once in a while with her, and you'll see her moving it around, and that's how she kind of like brings herself down and settles down. I think you have to get over people staring at you. You have to get over people kind of whispering or talking or saying things. And I think that's just made us, again, stronger. I feel like not that I was like excited or happy that you were kind of in a similar boat than me, but then I thought to myself, like, oh, like it's probably somebody who gets me, who's gonna get me,
Yeah,
like.
I mean, again, I don't want to say that I completely understand the whole autistic side or a nonverbal situation, but you're right. I just feel like I can relate with so much of what you're saying. I think many boys with Duchenne have other diagnoses as well, and some of them are similar, like the OCD or I
Mhm,
mean, even I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but Nathan recently broke both of his legs.
mhm.
And I bought him a pair of pants that we just put on the wheelchair, and you can zip them all the way up and all the way down. They're much easier to put on over a cast
Mhm.
and when you're sitting in a wheelchair. Zippers, nope. Wore those
No.
pants once
Yeah.
and wants nothing to do with them anymore because the zippers were bothering him. So things
Mhm,
that we are all like, whatever, who cares about a stupid zipper or a tag, or we just don't understand that it just can
yeah.
be completely triggering or just like throw them off their routine. And it's very easy for people to say, well, just make them wear them.
Mhm. Like, for
Okay.
example, when I go out of town, I can't prep Sophia on it. I start talking to her about it, then she gets a little emotional, which it's weird because if she gets emotional at the right time, we're like, "Oh my god, yay, like, good, I'm glad." Or when her sister takes something from her and she'll kind of like push her back, like, I want to be like, "Don't push her sister," but then I'm like, "Yes, like you should push her at that particular moment because she did take something from you. So,
Right.
yes, defend yourself, but I don't need her out here randomly punching people.
Right.
I joked for years that I was gonna put her like in karate or whatever, because like if you came in her spot and if she punched you, then you were too close, like you were just
Yes.
too close. Like I'll just have to have really high insurance or something like that. It'll work out. But until, like even for organized sports and things like that, birthday parties, a lot of times we didn't celebrate birthdays with family and friends because it was just like, oh, either the other kids were here or there. There were some kids who would kind of participate with her, but then we started to do experiences for her birthday where we just start traveling or going to check some other place out or things like that.
I love that.
There is a wonderful place in Northville. It's called the Living and Learning Enrichment Center. And they do things for kids with disabilities and special needs for 13 and higher.
Oh,
So it was finally somewhere, and they also do job skills. Like we have a group that works at my hotel, and they come and they help in housekeeping and other things. My boss, Aaron, is amazing with these kids. They love him so much. And by the time that they're done or their program is ended, they're crying because they're sad to say goodbye to him. And like every time it happens, I'm just like, thank you so much. Like it gives these kids something to do, a purpose to be excited for. So this will be her third summer of going to camp there. Obviously, it costs, but they have alpacas, they have a huge art studio. They renovated maybe a 3 or 4 car garage and it's their art studio, and they walk the grounds, and they have honeybees that they sell honey at the markets. They do like a street market every week, like a farmer's market from the eggs of the chickens, and it's just they do such a good job, and I feel like Sophia is safe there. Again, we could have chose where it's her and the counselor or her, the counselor, and another student. And, we want Sophia to be safe, but we're still trying to teach her the responsibility. Someone has to pay attention. It's called an AAC communication device. It's a board, but it's filled with pictures, right? And if she presses this picture, then it speaks for her. So, if you were working with her and you asked her, how do you like this? She would look through the things and she would tell you. Or if you asked her she was at your house and you wanted to offer her something to eat, she would take it out and you'd ask her and she'd press that button. One of the great things, and I don't even know how this started, but she will answer a yes or no question. And honestly, I think it started because you used to always, as a mom, the thing that you always want to hear is you want to hear them call you mom, and you want to hear them say they love you. So we used to always mess with her, like, "Do you love me? Yes or no?" So you'll hear my older daughter jokes all the time. Like, one, she complains that sometimes people talk too much. Because think about our household is very quiet and relaxing, and it's not overstimulating. She's like, I find myself when people like pause too long and wait to respond to me, she's like, come on, yes or no? Like, is it a yes or no? So um that's one of her, my older daughter's biggest things is she's like, okay, I feel like I'm overstimulated in this room. Like, I know Soph has to be overstimulated in this room. It is cute because she's actually studying psychology and she just recently got a job working at an ABA center. So, as much as, I'm sure having a special needs little sister probably sometimes put her over the edge, and she was just like, "Oh, seriously, like this again." I think it's cute that now she's kind of going in that direction as well.
And don't you think that there's something, and we've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times, there's something to be said about a sibling
Oh yeah.
and the type of person that they are because
Mhm.
of what they've been through. We don't know. We're not siblings like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, my son, I mean, Nathan thinks that I think Nick is my favorite and I love him more and all of
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I don't want to brag too much about him, but he's just like, just very empathetic. There's just something about him and his personality that I think really came from being a sibling
Mhm.
to a
Honestly,
brother in a
I
wheelchair.
I don't think that I could praise you and your husband more for the relationship that you see with those two boys. Like just even the way that your older son's friends like wrap their arms around Nathan. I think it's absolutely amazing.
See, now you're gonna make me cry.
I know, but
Yeah,
that it's a true testament of,
thank
you
you.
and your husband, the village that you have around you, because there are siblings that are just like, you know what, gosh, we have to do this again because of them, or why do we have to do it this way, or
Mm,
someone's going to say something, or someone said something like that to me. And my daughter is quick to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a second, that type of thing. And
mhm,
I don't know your older son personally, but just even like the photos or just how excited his friends are to see him. And even with him being away at school and then him still, Nathan still having a group that when they visited him after his accident and things like
mhm,
that, like honestly. And I think that having like same sex siblings, like having, me having two girls, you having two boys,
mhm,
I think that's assisted with the
mhm,
younger kids. I think having an older brother, there's a lot of things that he wanted to mimic and do. So maybe those things came a little bit sooner than had they not had that older person.
yeah,
I
I
think even
agree.
just for hygiene for Sophia. I think having, myself and her older sister, I think has like helped tremendously. Potty training for, Sophia. There are children with autism that are, 14 and still, have difficulty with that. Sophie was potty trained before she had her autism diagnosis. So, there were just certain things where it's like, I know that we could be totally like, oh my God, like why or how did this happen to me? I'm somewhat over the like you were chosen because blah 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 like whatever. I don't necessarily have any opinions, I guess, on autism for others. Some people are like, "Oh, well, what happened?" Or I think that maybe if Soph was our first child and we were still considering expanding our family after that, maybe we would have did some of the genetic testing or something like that. Or if I thought that it was going to help the science of autism, to do that, I would. But Brandon and I really weren't that interested in putting her through anything extra than need be. We were looking to have two kids. It's not as if we were like, oh, we're going to have a family of eight and I don't know if we're going to be able to do this again. I'm not going to lie. If I had a third kid, it would probably be in the back of my mind, the
Mhm,
whole time. I, definitely have met families that have, more than one, child who are on the spectrum or have some other type of, disability or things like that. And you're strong enough for the one you have. I don't know if how strong I would be, to go above, and beyond, what we have on our plate now.
mhm,
I think that just with the recent whole Tylenol thing and taking Tylenol when you're pregnant, I feel like how many more ways can we knock a mom down, or how many more ways can we like say you probably did this? Or when people do ask me how or why, I think one of the things that I would recommend for new mommies, if I had another child, I don't know that I would ever combo shot my kid with vaccinations. Sophia's fully vaccinated. She continues to get vaccinated. I'm I believe in vaccinations. With COVID and everything else, you can kind of tell how things are. I think that if it works within your family, your beliefs, and even just your own health, I feel like why not? For example, I never had the chickenpox. When I was in college, there was a whole huge, outbreak of the pox because all the international kids were getting it. Whereas that's when I got my first chickenpox vaccination. So now I'm 47. I have kids. My kids never got them either. My husband's never had them. Now, does it send me through the easy breezy life of not getting shingles because now I've protected myself with this vaccination? Like, I don't know, maybe. But that would be my suggestion is that I don't care how many office visits I had to do. I don't care how many copays I had to pay. I would do one shot at a time because I have videos of Sophia singing. I have videos of her like reciting the ABCs, sitting in the bathtub singing a song, and then all of a sudden it was just like no. And who knows what it was? I don't know. Was it just that was the time that it was going to go out anyways? I don't know. And I've had doctors, okay, well, you're going to have to sign this if you don't do this all in one day today. Okay, no problem. Even the HPV shot. I wait a little bit more on those things for Soph because she can't tell me any after effects. I'm not going to do any of that. Just even like with her own personal health, her cycle has started. Like God couldn't give us like one break. It started when she was 9. It's like, honestly, could we not have pushed it to like 16, 18, like something? And of course, it's not an easy one. We have our own challenges with it. But one of the suggestions was giving her one of the shots or whatever. And it's like there are grown women who are adults or even like preteens who get on these things and get it taken out like 2 weeks later because of this or that. And then I feel like what if something does happen and she becomes verbal and things go in a completely different direction and then I've made a medical choice for her that can't be taken back. I feel like my way of thinking is I can only think about today and tomorrow. Anything past
You know
that,
that.
like
Yep.
if you want me to get up and function and move around, we cannot talk about it. So,
That's been one of the major things that I've learned, that I can't think about things that are too far off because
no.
spiral, spin, you're all over the place, you can't focus. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way I live.
Hmm.
It's the only way I can live, so I completely understand that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I I do believe I could just sit here and listen to you because you are the way that you present yourself, the way that you communicate, and the way that you bring things up, I respect it so much. And I mean, even based on the few bits of communication we've had over the years and what I've seen on social media, I just really appreciate how you look at everything and your attitude. And I loved how you said, let's celebrate the things that she does right. Like, let's not focus on everything that she does wrong.
Right.
I think that's so valuable, so important, and I love that because you could just sit here and be like, "Why is my life like this?" But instead, you're constantly thinking about, "How do I make both of my daughters' lives the best that they can be?" It's gonna
Hmm.
look different, but you're trying your best every single day, so please give yourself some credit for that and some
Thank you, thank
grace,
you, thank you. I'm
and,
trying,
it
I'm trying.
I know, and it doesn't surprise me that you've been in hospitality for that long, as it just seems so perfect with your personality, and I know that you've been
I
doing
love
that,
it. I did
but you
event planning for years. I love it. I love to
that's
turn your background into like a magical wedding venue. It's
Oh, I
so
love
fun.
that so
With
much.
everybody else's money too. So that was
Yeah,
even
wouldn't
better.
that yeah. So, it almost too is interesting that you have that kind of a background because it also allows you to maybe understand that sometimes things don't work out exactly the way that you expected, or you have to have, like, alternate
100%.
plans or, something else in place. So, I do think there's reasons for things like that. I don't understand the reason why your beautiful daughter can't speak to you, but I do think there's a reason why you are her mother, that's for sure.
I
You
know.
were meant
Same.
for that. Yeah. So, and I love just listening to you talk about both your girls, and Brianna sounds like she's just doing great things too. So I hope she continues to be successful in everything she's trying to do. But I do want to touch on just a couple of things. I liked that you mentioned the relationship with your husband because I relate. I think sometimes it doesn't work out that way. People can't get on the same page. I
No.
shouldn't say same page because I don't think my husband and I deal with anything the same way at all. But I do
Mhm.
think that my son's diagnosis did show us that we can grow together, we can learn together, and we can try to be
Mhm.
strong together. I don't know how people do it when they don't have a partner, and God
I
bless
don't
all of those
either.
out there that
I
are
know.
like that.
Same, me
Yeah,
too.
so I'm very grateful for that. I love that you brought that up. And then also I kind of want to touch on you mentioned it several times, the village, the community, the support.
Mhm.
And I know you lost two of your biggest supporters, and I'm so sorry for that. I love that you feel that your mom sent the teacher to you. I think that's beautiful that you still see your parents in so many things. But yeah, if you could touch a little bit more on yeah, the relationship with your husband and then also the village and how that has gotten you through, that would be great.
So my husband and I met in college, and we honestly we met the first day of college because the football team was helping everybody move in, and he was one of the boys that helped me and my parents move into my dorm. We were in the same friendship circle for years, and then we just kind of became closer. We just kind of started hanging out. I could see he is always like he was just different than all of the other boys. Like he would get up and he would get dressed. His clothes were always ironed. He always smelled good. He always had a haircut. And he was just so nice. You could see him in every circle. It didn't matter what anybody else thought about him. He didn't care. If you were nice, he was gonna hang out. He had his friends, but it didn't stop him from talking and hanging out with everybody else. One of the things that sticks out in my mind is I worked in a hotel while I was up at school, and one of my coworkers was having a baby shower. My mom and I happened to go up to my apartment for that weekend. Well, I ended up in the hospital because my appendix ruptured, and I ended up having to have my appendix removed and stuck in the hospital for a couple days. So my mom and not knowing the area, my dad couldn't come up because he was working. Well, Brandon ended up coming and he would pick my mom up and bring her to the hospital, and then he would come back and pick her up and take her back. Just little things like that. Or the nurses, he'd be coming with like flowers or food or something down the hallway, and the nurses would be like, "Oh my God, he's back," that type of thing. But our friendship was always there. So I think that just kind of made us a little bit stronger. And then once we kind of, realized that, this is what we were going to do, I can remember telling him, when I was pregnant with Brianna, and he just looked at me and he's like, "Well, I guess we're just going to be a little family now, aren't we?" And I was just like, "Oh, okay," that type of thing. He kind of, opened my eyes up to like a different way of thinking. My parents met each other when they were 5 and 7. My grandfathers left Puerto Rico together and came over to Michigan together. So my parents kind of grew up together. They were in their own same circle. Being bilingual when they did, there was a very like tight knit that my parents were always around. So my family dynamic was very different than his. His parents were high school sweethearts, but never married, but were great co-parents for him. Whereas I grew up in the Catholic Church, I received all my sacraments and things like that. And in his mind, you didn't necessarily need to be married to be a family. And obviously we're married now, and just even then growing our family, and then just the ups and downs of your starting your career, and are you going to be doing this forever, or are you not going to be doing this forever with the kids, and then receiving our diagnosis that we did, and realizing that it's not just going to be like it was with Brianna. Like it's going to be different. We all have to make adjustments. It put a lot of, just stress on, maybe my husband in the very beginning, because when I was pregnant with Sophia, I was home with her for like 2 years. And then, once we got everything situated and we knew how it was going to go, then it was easier for me to go back to work because, again, I had my parents, and if there's anyone you're going to trust with your kids, it's your parent. I can remember my dad telling my mom, because we were all so excited because Soph was going to be a latchkey kid. We were going to put her in latchkey. It was going to be great. I can remember Brianna begging, like, "Do I have to go to Abuela and Abuela's house? Like, I want to go to latchkey." And then when she got to latchkey, it was like, "I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Abuela and Abuela's house. Take me back." But we talked to my mom because my mom was going to get out and do a couple of things. And we kind of agreed, like, no, 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 no. And then we got the diagnosis. And I can remember my dad saying, like, "I'll retire early before my granddaughter goes to daycare. So this is just what it's kind of going to be like." That was a little bit difficult, and fighting over, therapy centers and what time, and should she be in therapy for that long, and your spouse feels one way and then you feel another way. Even now I feel a little bit of guilt because I feel like I see how hard, like, he's getting up and he's getting out of here every day, and he's putting up with all these people and all these customers and all this other stuff. And then he leaves me here and it's like, you're here and then you feel like I don't know if you work harder at work or if you work harder when you're at home. Because I feel like when you're at work, you do a couple things, you have some deadlines, but then Billy and Susie are over here having a
Yep.
chat and you
Yep.
step
Yep.
over there and you have a little
Mhm.
chat with them for a couple of minutes and then you kind of
Yep.
come back but I feel like at home everybody's like looking around at the things that were still the same when you left and be like, "Well,
Right,
what
like,
did you do today?"
"Didn't you clean that up? Didn't you put that
Yeah,
away?" Yeah,
right.
I'm the same.
So
I
I
feel
feel
the
like,
same.
like my day is structured as structured as it can be now. I still have a lot of estate things and stuff like that that I'm kind of
Mhm.
still dealing with. But then I also feel like I'm also like grieving. I don't necessarily feel like I had all the time in the world to do that. So this opportunity and my husband give me that opportunity to do so. But he's my best friend. I think that a lot of times you feel like, oh, you don't want to hang out with this person and that person, and you get home and you're like, oh, I could have just stayed home and I could have just stayed with you.
I think that's spot on, I think that's the friendship is so important. I think
Yeah.
that's key.
And I also feel like it's making time for you, like forcing yourselves to go out and do something. Like it's not
Mhm.
always easy to leave them behind.
Right.
It's not always easy to go on a trip. It's not always easy just to even get away sometimes to go out to dinner. But I think it's very, very, very important to make sure that you and your spouse still make sure that you and your spouse still like each other. Make sure that you and your spouse still want to hang out or like next week we're actually going to Jamaica for 5 days. It's our trip that we've done for the last couple of years ourselves. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. Last time I was there, my mom died. But I'll be home for her anniversary and then we'll leave after that. But I always joke with all my friends that I never bring this trip up with anybody because I don't want anybody to join. This is the trip where him and I literally go sit and we stare at the water all day and we drink strawberry daiquiris all day and we just hang out and it's our like exhale and regroup
Mhm.
trip.
Yeah, you're like sanctuary. I love that. Oh,
But I
that's
think that,
wonderful.
honesty, communication,
Mhm.
finances, I think like all of those things are things that can definitely get in the way. And as long as you and your spouse stay true to each other, because there is no other person that is going to have your back. Even if you differ on certain views or things like that, there's no person that's going to have your back like your partner in life, whoever that may be, because you need that person. It's important. And the trust, the honesty, being away, like making sure that I get away just for myself, making sure that he gets away just for himself, and then making sure that we're able to do it for each other. No, I don't know that I would be the same wife and mom if I didn't take those times for myself. I feel like, think about it. I have a 14-year-old toddler at home. I when I move a room, Sophia moves a room, Charlie leaves the room, and Leroy leaves the room. When I
Everybody
forget
follows
some-
you.
when I forget something and I'm like, "Oh no, I got to go this way." Everybody's like, "Oh no, I
Every
got to go this way." So there are times when even just going to Target by myself and walking around, my drive home from work, my husband's in the car business, so all he does is he talks about our car miles and things like that. So me driving from here to Novi, that is the only time of the day that I have to myself. The only time of the day. I take a shower, she's in there with me, the dogs are in there with me. Everything. Everything that I do. I literally have to make an announcement, like, "I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back." Like, it's okay. My husband jokes that if someone breaks in the house, that there's no way, I'm definitely out because between the dogs and Soph, you know exactly where I am.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you saw me look at my phone, but Nathan has texted me about 25 times during this podcast and he's at school, which I'm like, put your
Mhm.
phone away. But
Exactly.
also, like, I told him I was doing a podcast and it's still like constant. Yeah. So I get that for sure. I do think about that often now. Granted, he's 16, he's a junior, he's going through general education and he's doing great and he's very
Mhm.
smart, but there's so many times where it is just like a toddler. It's like, yeah, mentally he's 16, but there's so many other ways that he acts like he's a lot
Yes.
younger and you thought
And
that was
you
going to be done.
you also have the boy factor with Nathan,
Yes, that's
like
a whole yeah.
yeah,
You're right.
the whole maturity factor. And it's like
Mhm.
you want to give him the grace of being the 16-year-old, the junior, all of those things. But in the back of your mind, it's like number one, you're thinking of first all of the safety concerns. Like I went to Soap's first unified basketball game And I literally had to do everything in my power not to burst into tears. And it was funny because I had gone on a trip and there was a unified robotics event, right? And so my husband got to take her and I was just so devastated because I'm like, oh, I really didn't know if I'd ever have this organized
Yeah,
experience type
that
of thing with so
opportunity.
yeah.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
never I didn't think that I would do it. And so when he's looking at me and he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with your face? And I'm like, I'm trying not to cry. He's like, girl, let it out. He's like, I lost it at robotics. And it was so funny because myself and my older daughter were like, oh my God, we're totally getting you like a robotics dad hoodie. Brianna's like, I'm glad you're getting this experience because I don't think that I could have ever done robotics. So I'm glad you're getting this robo dad experience. So it's just we have a really good time. I think that we've done a really, really good job of trying to have, two separate relationships with both of our kids.
That's
For
wonderful.
example, Brianna's roommate, her family's invited her to go on a cruise. And as much as I talk because I work in the hospitality business, as much as I talk to Brianna about sex trafficking and all these other things, and I hate for my kids to leave the country without me. Like, this is a great travel experience for
Mhm,
her.
mhm.
I see Brianna in her room and just she's a great combination of myself and my husband. Brandon and I are both in sales, so I mean, like, if you walk up to me or you smile at me, I'm gonna smile back at you and I'll probably say good morning. I have to stop myself from being places and seeing people like having a hard time doing something because I'm so used to being at work or in that role where it's like, oh, just let me help you with that really quick or something like that. So I want her to go and I want her to do all these things. And I feel like we've definitely given her the proper tools in her toolbox. Maybe we've made her toolbox a little too cushy because we're not necessarily going to have this college experience again. Like currently she's doing a whole woe is me because she doesn't have a job like everybody else. But we're just like, just go to school. It's fine. We'll take care of this and we'll do this. Um, but she still wants to have all these other, she wants to feel that struggle, that all these other kids are, kind of feeling. And we're just like, like we're not going to be able to do this again. Just go and have a good time and, do
Right.
this or that.
Yeah, live your best life.
And, I think one of the biggest things is that you have to consider is that your older child could be in a position where they're caring for your younger child. I think that's a lot of responsibility to have on these kids' back, but in the same breath, you have to have a conversation with them about it. Like, God forbid something does happen to myself and Brandon. What is our plan? We have to have a plan for, not just for Sophia, but for Brianna as well. And I think one of the biggest things of losing my parents and then losing them so close together is that I am very versed in wills, trusts, and probate and all those other things where I don't know if you're aware of, but they do have such things as special needs trusts where you can actually set up a trust, like for example, for Nathan, where you could designate where his money goes. And you can say such and such is not allowed to touch this, and this is the funding for this for him. I think that during the time of death, and especially when finances and things like that come up, a lot of things get jumbled really quick. And some people that you didn't think would have a reaction have a completely different reaction than you were expecting. Just recently, the owner of the show place that I work for, he was telling me about an apartment building. He's working with an organization that it's a complete and total apartment building for people with disabilities. So let's say with adults with disabilities, where they live in this building, and it's almost like a senior, like
Mhm,
my
like
grandmother kind
assisted.
of, yeah,
Mhm.
like an assisted living, but it is for teens and young adults with special needs. So they're able to still have that apartment life and still be able to go and do and have that independence that, everybody craves. So I think that we do a good job of making it look easy on the outside. And I think we do that one just for our own peace. I don't want anybody to feel sorry. Like, there's no need to feel sorry for me or
Right.
any of those things. Like, you can look at our children and you can see that they're happy. I think that, whatever blessings that you do have, you have to count them. And I also feel like as long as I don't think about, too far ahead, but I'm going
Mhm.
to be okay.
Very, very good advice for so many of us, but yeah, I need to just keep repeating that to myself as well. You're spot on, and you're right. I don't wanna sit on Facebook and say, "Oh, life just sucks because I
Yeah.
had to
Feel
take
sorry
care of
for
my
me.
child today." Like, I don't want that at all.
But I do feel like there still should be a place where you're able to bitch about it. Like
Yeah.
it still freaking sucks. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying? Like it does suck. And some days suck more than others.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I
I
feel
think you and I
like
need to talk every week.
exactly. And I also feel for us, like it's so easy for me just to sit in the house all the time, but I feel like I have to push myself sometimes and
Yeah.
I have to go out. I tell myself once I get to the airport and through security, everything is okay. You know, it's almost like I'm trapped in the airport now. I can't leave, like I gotta go. And I feel like as long as, you have, like, for example, like my husband and I are flying in my sister in law while we go to Jamaica. So my sister in law, luckily, she has a work from home job. And luckily, she is able to come and then
Oh,
stay with, Sophia. So it's almost like we're taking a vacation, but then we have to provide, a
right.
vacation for somebody else. Because other
Yeah.
than that, do we pull her sister out of school? And is that fair for Brianna? I also feel like if people are going to commit to help you and your family, they really have to commit. Like you can't be flaky. If you say you're going to be at the bus stop and you're going to get her off the bus and you're going to be there, you have to be there. You can't just say like, "Oh, I want to help and I want to do this," and then you're just like, "Oh, whatever." Or if I ask you to watch her and I'm saying like you have to watch her, like if she leaves this house, you weren't watching her. The good thing about she's not she doesn't elope or anything like that. Like she doesn't try to do that. I do have a couple like we call them the liquor store alarms. When you walk in the store, it's like doo doo. So I do have a couple of those on like some of my doors, but I feel like if you wanna help and you wanna do something and you wanna be part of a special needs families village, then you really, really have to commit. And it's almost like I need you to feel like if you lost this child, you lost your own child, and like you didn't just lose my child type of thing. I also feel like you have to give yourself a lot of grace. I feel like you can't compare yourself to other moms. I feel like you can't compare your life to your friends' lives, even your relationship, even with your spouse to other people. Some of the things I see my friends go through, I'm like, God, my husband would never. But my husband would never just because we've already some of the biggest hurdles that you can toss at a young couple or a new couple we've already been given. So
Yes. Good point.
and I feel like you should be less judgy. Like a lot
Yes.
of people, like with my dogs, I have mini golden doodles. Did I pay for them? Absolutely. But I would love to rescue every single cute little puppy every
Right.
single where. But
Every
how,
every time you see those commercials.
yeah. But it's like, is that smart to do that with my nonverbal child? Can I put a dog with maybe a good temperament or some temperament that they say that's going to be okay, but is that
Mhm.
okay with my
Mhm.
particular child in my household?
Yep.
And those are some of the things that I wish people would be less judgy on. Like, oh, well, you can come and the kids can all just like sleep in the living room or whatever. Well, Soph can't do that.
Mm.
Soph needs to be in a room with a closed door or she'll get no sleep.
Mhm.
She's going to be worried about what you're doing all night.
And then the next day, forget it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, usually when I do this podcast, I will say, "Okay, talk to me about this and talk to me about that, and then what are your pieces of advice at the end?" And you've been doing that throughout this whole conversation. I appreciate you
I feel
sharing
like I've
so
been all
much.
over the place, but I
No,
feel like
no,
it's
not at
just like
all.
so
Not at all.
refreshing to be able to just be
Yeah.
in a judge-free zone.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful to you for just I don't think you were all over the place. You were really pointing out a lot of things and at first I thought, well, I don't want to put her on the spot because you're still figuring things out every single day, but on the other hand, you already have been through quite a few hurdles like you said, and you have figured some things out. So you have been able to offer some advice and some thoughts to people listening. But also, I keep talking about the importance of community and tribe and you've been talking about that the entire time as well and how
Mhm.
we just do need to rely on people, but I really appreciate you saying if you're going to rely on someone, there needs to be standards. Like you've got to do this,
Yeah,
you've got to do that
yeah.
because I think
Don't be
people
a
do
flaky
want to help. But
volunteer.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm
Don't be
going to
a
write
flaky
that down. A
volunteer.
flaky volunteer. Yeah. Because people say that to me. In the last episode, I just spoke myself and I talked about how, let people help you. Don't say that you can do everything yourself. But that's the next step. If they
Yeah,
do want to help, make sure that you set it up correctly because sometimes they just say it, but they don't know
yeah,
exactly what it means. So I appreciate that a lot.
yeah.
If you
5 minutes late for me for a pickup or a drop off or something could be like,
Oh, yeah.
you hear so many of these kids with autism that wander. And I live on a golf course and I have a body of water probably 30, 40 feet from my back door. It's not something that Soph has ever done, or when you're watching her, it's like, no, 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 we're going this way, or things
Mhm.
like that. But If you're gonna say that you wanna help, then just help, and I feel like that's what I've gotten now with Soph's teacher, like, there's so much communication, and it's just so much better, but don't be a flaky volunteer, it's no good. It's no good for the team. And then I don't wanna hurt your feelings by telling you that you suck, like, you're
Yes.
not helping me, like, I
Right.
won't be reaching out to you again.
Yeah,
I
you're making
tried.
this worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried, but I'm not doing this again.
Yes, exactly. Well, I appreciate that. And all of your little pieces of advice, they really do add up and they mean a lot for people who are in similar situations or also just people in general. And I really loved what you said about the judgment thing because you truly never know what people are going through. And that they call it a spectrum for a reason. So
Yeah,
your child's completely different than somebody else that has autism. Even Nathan, the Duchenne kids, even the ones that have exactly the same type of Duchenne are completely different.
yeah.
And their personalities are different and how they react to things are different. So it's very difficult to understand what someone's going through. And if you just go through life not having this judgment as your
Mhm.
precursor, I think life would be so much better. I think conversations would be better. Political discussions would be better if we could just stop judging so much. So it's a good lesson for us all for today. Try to
Mhm.
stop yourself. And we're not going to be perfect. I mean, I'll make judgments and then it's like, hey, you tell people not to do that. So stop.
Yeah,
So,
but
we're not
there are some
perfect, but
cases where you cannot help but make a judgment, like, some people
that's
are
true.
just they make it a little too easy for
Yeah,
you.
that's a good point.
Mhm. So sometimes it's like, or you see another family. We were on a plane this recently. I had to go to Florida for a funeral, and there was like a mother, and she had two little kids with her, and you could tell some people were just being so mean. And she kept apologizing. I was like, "Girl, these are noise canceling headphones. Like, I'm a mom. As long as you didn't ask me to watch your baby, then I'm
Right.
zoned. I'm like
Yeah.
totally like zoned out. Like, you
Yeah.
could
It's
care
not
less."
my responsibility. I'm good.
Exactly. Because, when I'm by myself, because I'm consistently worrying about things
Mhm.
around me, when I'm by
Yeah.
myself, it's like, Shamin, are you okay? Like, I'm okay. Like, no
Yeah.
problem. Like, what do you
Yeah.
want to do, Shamin? I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
So, and I also feel like I have to take advantage of that time, and
Yes.
I can't allow myself to feel bad for it. So,
No, no.
no.
That's the best advice there is right there. I was
Yeah.
supposed to go to Florida a few weeks ago, but it was right after Nathan's accident, and so I had to cancel, and it was like, man, it was just gonna be a couple days.
Hmm.
So I need to reschedule that because it really
Yes, you
does kind
do.
of reset me. Yeah.
It
So,
does. It
yeah.
takes you out of that environment. In our homes, it's a lot of worry. So there's a lot of phone calls, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of checks and balances. If I forget something in Soph's lunch or in part of her day, then she's without it because I forgot to do that. Like, I forgot her water bottle the other day. Now, is she going to suffer? No. But all I could think about is she's going to be looking for this water bottle, and there is going to be nothing. What is going to tell her, like, no, your mom forgot it. You didn't forget it. It'll be fine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you gotta take that
Gosh.
time for you. You have
You
to take
do.
that time for
I
you.
can relate to so many things you're saying. So again, just like I said at the beginning, I appreciated you. You just the first time I was looking back through some of our messages yesterday, and the first time you reached out after we started sharing a lot more about Nathan, it was just so timely. I just remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, wow! Like she understands." And I just feel like God places people in your life for reasons. And
Same.
you said that your husband was the kind of person that every group kind of had room for him and he just
Mhm.
brought joy and I see that. I remember that from you. You never thought, "Oh, well, she's not part of my group. I don't hang out with her. I'm not going to talk to her." You were just kind to everybody. You smiled with everyone. And I just appreciate that so much. And again, I think like that very timeliness of I can relate to what you're going through and all of the things that you told me then and the things you're saying today. I'm taking directly to heart, even though you're talking to many people and our listeners, but taking a lot of what you're saying. So I hope that you continue to bring that joy whenever you can. And not every day is going to be completely
I
joyful, but
I'm definitely trying to figure out what I can do with this newfound time that I have.
mhm,
I
mhm,
feel like it's almost a second like career thing for me or something. Trying to think of a business or something like that that Soph could participate in or
mhm.
she could work at or something of that nature where it's like that little Cherry Hill village over there because my bestie lives over there.
Yes.
So every time I drive down there, I'm like, there has to be, we've talked about like a candy shop or
Mhm.
something just that we'd be able to do, but not necessarily have to manage all the time. But then Soph would be able to participate in or kind of help or something like that. So my husband just told me the other day, this is a great opportunity for you. You just have to be in the headspace to accept it. I don't know if you're quite there yet. Like, we're getting there. He's like, but because, I consider going back to school to be a paraprofessional just so I could stalk self out. Or I could make sure all these other kids aren't mean to my kid all day, that type of thing. So, like, how can I get in the school and then just weasel my way consistently to her classroom? I don't know. I'm working on it.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna keep my mind going for you too, because I just
Mm.
think there's so much more that you can do, and with the knowledge and the experience that you have, there's a lot more lives that you're gonna impact. So I
Thank
think
you.
it's there. But
I'm super proud of you and all that you do.
thank you, thank you.
You and your
It means a
husband and
lot.
your sons are doing a great job. I know you have all the love and support of your family too, and that really, really, really means a lot.
Thank you.
So keep
Yeah,
up the good work. This podcast is great for all of us mamas who didn't really necessarily, and moms and dads.
yeah,
I hope some of the dads feel like it's okay to, you know, be upset sometimes and not to have to
right.
be so macho all the time, or
Yeah,
to show your kids that you do have that emotion and, that compassion. And I truly, truly feel like because of your husband, that's why your sons are the way that they are.
thank
And
you.
not that you
Oh,
don't have anything to do with it, but
no,
I
but
feel like for a son and their father and things like that, and having, just like, we talked about it earlier, having to parent them differently, you
right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a true testament of, you two as well. So great
Thank
job for
you.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so
And
much. And
anything I can do to help, or any parent, or, now that I have the time, or it's anything that, we could do for another parent or something like that, I am happy and always available to do so, because I don't think that I would be the special needs parent that I am today without knowing all of the other parents that I do.
yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And yeah, same here. I'm going to start thinking, or listeners, if you're thinking of some things that you think Shamin would be a great fit for, maybe you'll start having to open some doors for her too, because now is the opportunity. But when the time is right. So
Right, right,
I'll
right.
keep that in the back of my mind as well. But I appreciate you so much. You really did teach us
Thank
quite
you.
a bit today, and I'm glad that you reached out and said you were ready. This is going to be a great episode, and I can't wait to share it with others.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review, as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.